Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend after she dropped a heck of a fact bomb on me? My girlfriend, 29 female, and I, 32 male, have been together for 3 years, and I was planning to propose to her soon. She is a very sweet person, and we never had any large arguments before. We listen to the same music, watch the same TV show, and even have the same food preference. Yesterday, a mutual friend of ours came over to hang out and started to talk about her ex returning to our town soon. This opened up a can of worms, in which my girlfriend admitting that she still harbors feeling towards her ex and have been unable to move on from him. She mentioned that the reason she dated me was that I was the guy she felt the most comfortable with, albeit that she didn't feel anything romantic towards me. For context, they broke up a couple of years before we dated, as he was moving out of the country. She was the one who proposed that we should date. He never came back, and have never been in contact with any of us since then. Afterwards, it felt awkward around my girlfriend, especially knowing that she and I have different set of goals for this relationship, and I wanted to break it off. She then asked me not to mind the fact, and that she still wants to continue whatever we had before. Am I the a-hole for not being able to say yes to continue this relationship as usual? Now for the top comments before reading the update. She openly admits she has no feelings for you. Run, don't walk. Not the a-hole. Yes, that came out of nowhere. I've been with her for years. There was nothing that really indicates that she didn't share the same sentiment as me, and this sudden statement from here really threw a curveball at me. Not the a-hole. She essentially said she has feelings for someone else, which leads me to believe her future doesn't fully include you in it. I wouldn't waste my time and wait to find out she doesn't want a future together years down the line. I mean, I guess you could have another conversation with her and ask what her end goal is, but if you can't get past the fact she admitted feelings for an ex, I would just leave things as they are with you having broken up with her. I don't think that I'm able to live with the fact that my girlfriend is not attracted to me. Why would you even think about staying after that? She's just using you until the ex comes back. Not the a-hole. Stand your ground. It's just that I don't want to hurt her, but I don't think this can work out in the long run. Trust me, man, if she wasn't ugly crying with snot running down her face when this came out, begging you to not dump her over it, she's not going to be the least bit hurt. It's not like she even said anything like, "It started out that way, but I've grown to really love you." She said, "You're still barely suitable, so there's no reason to alter the arrangement for now." No reason to inconvenience yourself, though. Stop taking her out and spending money on her in any way, but continue to keep her around for sex and housework until you find her replacement. Don't feel guilty about it either. It's basically what she's been doing with you for 3 years. Now for some update. We broke up since the last post and aren't talking to each other till now. We had quite a lengthy talk before the breakup regarding her expectations of this relationship, our feelings, and the woulds, coulds, and shoulds. She mentioned that she was looking forward to a marriage. I didn't tell her about my plan to propose, though. She attempted to reconcile, said that she accepted that her ex is no longer in love with her, and that she is starting to fall for me. But it's hard for me to believe that. She wanted us to start again from the beginning as friends and work our way up to how we were before the talk. But I personally think that would be impossible, at least for me. In the end, she reluctantly agreed to go our separate ways. As for me, I felt lighter, relieved, but not happy. I'm just glad that I don't have to question myself on the hows and whys anymore. I haven't told my mom yet. She would be devastated as they are close. These past few mornings, I have not woken up to her good mornings, and it felt a bit lonely. I'll manage, but I do need the time to recover. Next story. Am I the a-hole for rejecting my partner's proposal? I'm 27 female, and my partner, 27 male, have been together for 5 years. We met in college and he is my soulmate. We get along, have similar goals in life, and I can see my future with him. We moved in together a year ago, and around our anniversary last week, he asked to go to dinner at Sweet Tomatoes. For those of you who don't know, Sweet Tomatoes is a buffet chain in the US that shut down all locations after the COVID pandemic. A few years ago, one single Sweet Tomatoes reopened in Tucson, Arizona. My partner grew up going to Sweet Tomatoes and is very nostalgic about the place. I had never been, so I agreed to take a road trip with my partner to go to Sweet Tomatoes. As soon as we got there, I could tell something was off because my partner was acting a little nervous, but I thought that maybe I was misreading his emotions and he was just excited. Everything was going fine and I thought the food was pretty good, but nothing to write home about. Then, when I thought my partner was getting up to get another plate, he stood up and proposed to me. Everyone in the whole buffet was watching as my partner was proposing to me, and I just stood there stunned. I pulled him aside and told him that I appreciate his proposal and that I really do want to marry him, but that I cannot accept his proposal because of where he was proposing. I couldn't help but feel like the proposal was a little bit selfish, as it was somewhere that only meant something to him. I know that sweet tomatoes is really important to him, and I love that he is so passionate about something, but I wanted him to propose somewhere that was meaningful to both of us. He was really sad, and the whole car ride home was tense, and we barely spoke. Now that we're home, things are still pretty awkward, and he seems distant. I feel really bad because I love him, but I just really did not want to get engaged at Sweet Tomatoes. So am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole, and to be honest, you sound selfish. This place meant something special to him, and clearly you are special to him. Proposing isn't about location. It's about the person you love asking you to be their life partner. I'm sure he's devastated. Yeah, I agree. It was his favorite childhood place that he was sharing with OP that clearly meant a lot to him. And she said no only because of the location? My husband of 7 years proposed over the phone during a fight. Lol. The whole thing was incredibly ridiculous. And of course I said yes. He proposed again, later after we were married, with an actual ring where we shared our first kiss. If I would have said no due to location, I would have missed out on the best thing to ever happen to me. It's sad people put so much emphasis on it being Instagram perfect. Be prepared for him to not propose again. That's a very difficult thing to come back from, especially with you saying he was being selfish. Consider it from his perspective. Your reaction wasn't to be excited that he proposed and be present with him in the moment. Your reaction was to judge him and decline his proposal because it wasn't good enough. Agreed. There may be no coming back from this. You're the a-hole. Next story. I dropped my ex-girlfriend off at a homeless shelter. So I was 22, living in San Antonio in 2017. One evening, I was swiping through Tinder and matched with a girl I'll call Kara. She was very pretty, and we hit it off quickly. We discovered we lived just down the road from each other, and after a few days of chatting, we met in person and walked around a park near our houses. Kara told me she had recently moved from Orlando to San Antonio. She'd only been in town for 2 weeks and was crashing on a friend's couch while looking for a job and her own place. I felt bad and offered to let her crash at my place that night with a promise of getting breakfast in the morning. She happily accepted. We stayed up watching The Little Mermaid, her favorite movie, and went to bed. Nothing intimate happened. The next morning, we went to Jim's for breakfast. Kara told me her dream was to work at Disney back in Florida. She was a huge Disney fan, and most of our conversation revolved around that. I found it kind of cute. When I asked why she left Florida, she explained her mom had relapsed on drugs, so she left and moved in with a friend from the army in San Antonio. But after 2 weeks on their couch with no job prospects, she felt like she was overstaying her welcome. After breakfast, I offered to help her look for jobs. A few days later, she landed a part-time night shift at a gas station. She was nervous about working alone, so I visited her near the end of her first shift to support her. We went back to my place afterward, and that night things got intimate. The next morning, she surprised me by making breakfast. Then things got weird. While we were eating, Kara brought up marriage, specifically a dream wedding at Disney. I was thrown off. We had only known each other for 3 weeks. She didn't mention it again right away, but over the next few weeks, she started spending every weekend at my place. Then, 3 weeks later, she showed me a full Pinterest board of her dream wedding, complete with rings, locations, dates, and themes at Disney. It was detailed. I asked if this was something she had planned long ago, but she smiled and said, "No, silly, this is for us." I was stunned. I told her I thought things were moving way too fast. I tried to be gentle, but explained that while I cared about her, I wasn't sure if what we were feeling was genuine love or just infatuation. I told her relationships take time and that her Pinterest board felt a little extreme. She went quiet. An hour later, she started packing. She said she needed space and was going back to her friend's place. I apologized a few more times, but she left. I tried reaching out over the next week, but she barely responded. Eventually, I asked to meet up and talk or else we'd have to end things. She told me to stop contacting her and blocked me. It stung, but I moved on. 2 months later, I was doing great. Then, at 11:30 p.m. on a Sunday night, I got a text from Kara. One word, help. She had unblocked me. I panicked a bit and asked if she was okay. She wasn't. She asked me to pick her up from her new boyfriend's house, 90 minutes away in Kerrville. I considered saying no since I had work early the next morning, but I couldn't ignore her. I drove out and found her sitting on a trash can with 3 large suitcases. She looked rough. On the drive back, she told me that after we broke up, she met a guy named Mike on Tinder who claimed to be rich and promised her a new life. He said he had a ranch, a dealership, and would give her a dream wedding. Instead, he took her to his mom's filthy, roach-infested house. She was trapped there for weeks. Mike took her phone away and only gave it back occasionally. She finally escaped while Mike and his mom were out at a bar, pretending she was going to bed. Back at my place, I told her she should report him to the police, but she was too scared. She stayed with me a few days to recover. Eventually, I told her she couldn't stay longer. I didn't want to rekindle the relationship, and she had nowhere else to go. Her friend's couch was now taken. We searched for affordable housing, but with no job and no savings, nothing worked out. I'd previously volunteered at Haven for Hope, a shelter that offers beds and meals. I explained the process, helped her gather her things, wrote and notarized a letter explaining why she couldn't stay with me, required for admittance, and dropped her off that Sunday morning. An hour later, she called crying. The indoor shelter only accepted residents who had lived in San Antonio for at least 6 months. She didn't qualify and was being sent to the outdoor section. She begged me to pick her up. I responded, probably the worst way I could have. Well, it is a homeless shelter. She hung up. Later that night, she texted that a volunteer saw her crying, called me an a-hole, and bought her a Greyhound ticket back to Orlando. She asked if I wanted to say goodbye. I said I couldn't and wished her safe travels. 3 months later, while I was out grocery shopping, my roommate messaged me. Kara was at the front door, knocking. I had him pretend not to know me, saying the previous tenants had moved. With the new furniture, paint, and no car in the driveway, she believed it and left. I never saw her again. I moved soon after and blocked her everywhere. So, am I the a-hole? I was 22. I tried to help, but when I hit a wall, I chose what felt like the only realistic option left. Could I have done more? Probably. Now for the top comments. That was a desperate person looking for a savior, but you can't sacrifice your own mental or financial well-being for someone you just met and who was a train wreck. You offered the resources you knew of and could provide, which was to contact the shelter and help her with the forms. You did your part. Thank you for the feedback. It has eaten me at times, but I'm happy the majority find me not the a-hole. This is one of those situations where you can't light yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. You tried, not the a-hole. Also, even if she got the perfect job, enough money, and a stable place to live, those things will continually implode. It will be like a TV show about the zombie apocalypse. Brief moments of new possibilities, you, the gas station job, followed by weeks of escalation of people, supposed safe haven somewhere not entirely impossible to go. Everything falls apart. She needs saving. Someone helps. She gets a little better lol, then all the iterations of that Pinterest board cycle starts again. OP, you were genuine, giving and supportive, and it didn't help for even 24 hours. Not the a-hole. She seems delulu. Mike trapped her at his mother's house, and she left when they went to the bar by pretending to sleep. She nicely sat waiting for you for over 90 minutes with 3 large suitcases. I think she was thrown out. That's true. I never even thought that she may have been kicked out. You're not an a-hole. You're kind of naive for even questioning it, but your heart is in the right place, and you did the right thing. Yeah, I was young, dumb, and full of, yeah. I have learned many lessons. Last story. Am I the a-hole for being the reason my coworker is getting divorced? I'm 23, happily single, and I work with a really chill team. Everyone's super friendly, we help each other out a lot, and we usually go out for lunch together once a week. Our boss is cool too. He'll bring in coffee and donuts every now and then just because. We got a new guy recently I'll call Jake. He's in his early 30s, been married for a few years, no kids. Whenever we invite him to join us for lunch or whatever, he always says he can't. At first we thought he was just shy or maybe not into group stuff, which is totally fine. But then one day during a meeting, our boss brought coffee and donuts, and Jake was like, "Man, I want one so bad." And someone asked if he had a health thing. He goes, "Nah, my wife Allison doesn't let me have coffee or junk food because she doesn't like me having any caffeine or sugar." The room went quiet real fast. I probably shouldn't have said anything, but I asked, "Wait, is that why you never come to lunch with us? 'Cause your wife won't let you?" And he said, "Yeah. Apparently, she doesn't want him doing any social stuff without her now that they're married. Like, he's only allowed to go out if she's there too." I told him if anyone tried to control what I eat or who I hang out with, I'd be out. That's not normal. My boss agreed and told him he might want to talk to someone about it, like a counselor or something. Well, Jake came in today and said they had a huge fight after that convo and she kicked him out. Now he's talking to a lawyer about separation. My sister thinks I was out of line bringing that up in front of everyone, but honestly, was I? I didn't mean to stir the pot. I just couldn't stay quiet about how messed up that sounded. Still, I feel a little guilty. Did I overstep? His marital problems are not your doing. They existed long before you came around and would have likely ended up in the same place regardless of your discussion. I bet Jake has lost many friends who pointed this out too, maybe even jobs. OP just stated the obvious, and it's not her fault the boss agreed. OP likely saved Jake from an abusive household. This is probably just the tip of the iceberg that he had to deal with. What's the opposite of AITA? Am I the amazing hero? If only that subreddit wasn't taken. Not the a-hole. At most, you and your boss woke him up to something he should have been paying attention to himself. Regardless of what you guys said, he's the one that went to his wife and had it out with her, and however that went down is none of your fault. Thank you. I needed to hear this. On one hand, I feel like our comments were the tipping point that caused him to turn his life upside down, which I feel guilty for. But on the other hand, I feel like no one should be in a relationship that makes them feel like they can't be themselves. Not the a-hole. From the inside, he may not have realized just how controlling and manipulative she was being. I know if I was that blinded, I would want someone to tell me life is too short to not be happy, and it doesn't really sound like he was happy. You did the right thing. I agree. My first marriage was like that, financially and emotionally abusive, and didn't realize until someone pointed it out to me. Left there and then.